I am 69. I'm actually retired now, and I've done a mixture of things. I was a university lecturer for quite a while, but I have this kind of thing that I go a bit mad if I'm in too middle class an occupation and get so I then changed and became a foster carer, which is sort of has a very low value and is a much more of a working class occupation. I think it was probably when I was about 12, and I just couldn't stop crying in private, never in public. I'd get up, put on a face, and do stuff, but with quite a heavy heart. But then when I was in private, I'd weep. And I carried on and off, weeping throughout the years. I think my mother was mentally ill. She basically chased one of my older brothers that I absolutely adored out of the house. My other one had left, he'd got out, so it was just me and my sister lived there. And my mum used to come in the night into my room and shake me awake and tell me I wasn't fit to live and I should be in the shed at the bottom of the garden and I didn't deserve to be in the house and things like this. And I was desperately grieving the loss of my brothers not being at home. Yeah, that broke my heart. I didn't know what I'd done wrong. I was completely bemused by it. And I thought, oh God, I must have done something terrible if I can't be a human like other humans. So I think that's what kind of started it all off, really. I didn't have the space then or the permission to kind of crack, and it just didn't seem possible. But I think when I was in my early 30s, I did crack a few times then, and I just could not function in any way, shape, or form. I just had to sit in a chair very, very, very still. And I didn't even go to a doctor then. I don't know why. It wasn't until the 1990s that I actually got in contact with a doctor about my mental health. I'd been with my girlfriend quite a while at that time, but she was lying to me. And I don't know if any people are good at coping with having two amounts of reality going on, like a gut reality of something you know, and then someone telling you you're mad, that that's not happening at all. But she was having a fling with someone else, but completely denying it. So at an intuitive level, I knew it was going on. But then at a sort of like, what's being given out in the world was that that wasn't happening at all. So I felt this complete dissonance between what I thought and what I was being told. And it kind of ripped me apart, really. And then I was in a really bad way, and I had to have masses of medication, antipsychotic medication, antidepressants, and possibly something like tramadol. It's a while back, so I can't remember it terribly well. But I've been on antidepressants since then. They've made me kind of, well, I can function all the time pretty much now to a reasonable extent, but they seem to have sucked a lot of joy and creativity out of life. In the middle of that, I was applying for PhD studentships, and I actually got invited for an interview up in York. And I remember I was still on these antipsychotic stuff and God knows what. I don't know how I got myself up from the sofa and got on a train and went up there and did the interview, but somehow I did. One of the ways I've coped all my life is putting on a face, pretending to be someone that I'm not, someone that does get on a train and go and do that, not someone who lies on their sofa. I was married and I'd come out as a lesbian, and my husband was trying to get custody of the children because I was allegedly mad and couldn't look after them, and also because I was a lesbian, I shouldn't be allowed to have them. So what we tried for a bit was to live in the same household so that we could both be there for the kids. But I said we can only do that on the basis of complete and utter honesty, really, with each other about what's going on. There's been a theme in my life when people aren't honest with me and I know something's going on. That's when I kind of use the word unravel, really. But I discovered that he was having an affair and not telling me, and he was also having quite a lot of relationships around the place. And I thought I can't co-parent in this situation. Anyway, I kind of basically moved back down to this area because I was really familiar with it because my grandparents had been bombed out the East End and come down to Bath. So I was always coming to Bath in my childhood. I moved to a village outside Bath, and it was like moving back at least 50 years into the past. And I hadn't sort of factored that in as an issue. And full of heterosexual couples, and I stood out like a sore thumb. So people used to sidle up to me and tell me their secrets, and they'd ask me things like, "How do you deal with nits?" Because, and then, "Can you tell me about drugs and things?" Like I would know about these things because I was a lesbian. They'd ask me stuff about what they might consider the seamy side of life, that they could talk to me about that. But my kids had, oh, it was so racist in the village school, I had to take them out. So that was, yeah, that was an issue. It's always been a pressure in my life, and it's a weight that I carry with me all the time. I struggle to get up, get out, and do stuff. On the whole, I feel like I have dragged myself through life everywhere I've gone. I think because I was brought up between a Protestant, very posh set of grandparents and working class Irish Catholic grandparents, I've always seen what it's like to be working class. My aunts and uncles often weren't in kind of like sort of middle class occupations, and actually some of them were really poor. But there's something for me about sometimes how blithely white middle class people can go around the world not having a clue what it's like. It just makes me feel I'm going out of my head when I'm around people like that for too long. And also because so much of my life has been spent, like the first husband was from the Caribbean. He was a musician and a black science fiction writer. And we were on the receiving end of a lot of racism in the 70s. And I don't ally myself to whiteness anymore. If you're intimately involved with people of colour, other people then don't consider you as white as you might be. Do you know what I mean? You've kind of got tainted by association. So I think whiteness is a quality that you can lose. And actually, in lots of situations, I have lost it. I find it really hard to trust white people. I find it really hard to trust lots of people. So that probably does impact my mental health. It's not true that I find white people hard, but I find whiteness hard when it's en masse. It's really painful. And it makes life hard work. So it's hard work bringing my mentally damaged mind through life alongside all the kind of horrible things that go on in the world. I think discovering that I wasn't as stupid as I thought I was has been a real source of strength, and that I do have a slightly unusual take on the world, which other people do appreciate. So that's been a source of strength. Like, being asked to give papers at academic conferences and things, that's given me strength. There are some of my mother's words that ring in my ears, and one of them is, "You're too stupid to do anything," or "You haven't got an original thought in your head," that kind of thing. And actually, yeah, I have got an original thought in my head. In fact, I've got so many original thoughts in my head. I've been awarded a PhD. Another really good thing for me that kept me going was that I decided to cut my mother out of my life entirely. And that really helped a lot because I wasn't getting the constant drip, drip, drip of nastiness. And I'm really, really close with my sister, particularly, and also my brothers. And they're such a lovely source of support. I looked on a website for the Holborn Museum's classes. I'd seen some of the artwork that they'd done, and I think they had a thing called Creativity for Wellbeing. So I looked that up and asked if I could join one of their classes. You had to be referred, so one of the guys at Bath Mind said that he would kind of refer me, and it's the best thing I've ever done. The last project we did was on Islamic metalwork because it's based around what's going on at the museum. And so we learnt how to make geometric designs, which for me was so challenging because I'm very, very wordy, but I'm not very good at mathematical space and stuff like that. But I just got completely into it, and it was like doing something psychedelic because every time you made a little geometric pattern, if you put a bit of colour in somewhere, it would shift the whole pattern around. It was just forever moving and shimmering and changing. It's just such a wonderful experience. And the people who do it are just so kind and welcoming and, yeah, just really friendly. And there's no pressure in any way to kind of like produce a masterpiece or anything, or a mistress piece. So, for the first time in my life, for ages, I just started playing again. And that's what made me really happy, having the chance to play. It made me happy. And I was so bothered by this. I thought, oh my goodness, this must mean that I'm actually bipolar because I'm feeling happiness. And I actually talked to one of the guys at Bath Mind who was brilliant and who said, it's just an unfamiliar feeling. And it's so unfamiliar, I can't tell you. I don't remember feeling, maybe when I was doing my PhD a bit, but I don't remember feeling as happy as this ever before, really. So it was a revelation to me. One of my kids lives in Sweden, so we have a lot of Zoom calls. And she said to me, Mum, you look so happy and alive at the moment. It's wonderful to see you like that. So it was really noticeable, not just as a sort of an internal thing, but that it was coming outside as well. It's funny because my son is really suffering at the moment, and he spoke to me last night. He was sort of saying he can't go on, and he was saying, what sort of God allows people to feel like this? And that's not a question I can answer because I don't even believe in it. But what I can believe in is light, that light can make such a difference, which is not to say that being in the dark is bad, because that can be a really nurturing, wonderful space. But the warmth of light and the love of community, loving your community and being loved by your community is really healing and full of light. I'd say have faith in the future because, look at me, I'm 69 years old. I've spent my entire life feeling really pretty much miserable most of the time. But actually, today I feel happy. Keep hold of hope, even if it's the tiniest, weeniest bit of hope that you can find. Make it yours, make it special. Hang on to hope. It's difficult when you're in a hopeless place, isn't it? But it's finding a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of it somewhere. I'd like to say don't be ashamed. My whole life I was ashamed. Why did I wait to be so old to not be ashamed about it anymore? I wish I'd never waited this long. My life and my children's lives might have been transformed